Hi everyone and welcome to this Keptn community meeting, September 17th, 2020. As always, we are following the CNCF Code of Conduct, so that means please be nice to each other. And we have quite a packed agenda for today, so I will be handing pretty soon over to Johannes or to Florian, whoever wants to start. I just want to mention a couple of things in the beginning. If you have some questions during the meeting, please indicate the questions in the Q&A section so we can make sure to address them. We have a little bit of a more strict policy now of promoting people to panelists. So basically the policy is if you have some PRs to share, if you have basically shown yourself as a Keptn contributor, you are invited as a panelist and you can contribute by screen sharing also to the meeting. If not, then just please indicate your questions in the Q&A section. We will be happy to address them during the community meeting. Yeah, if you want to stay up to date with Keptn, I just want to announce we still have our Google Groups where you can take part. And I think we already have a couple of people taking a look at good first issues, but still the links are provided here. So if you're new to this meeting, take a look at our good first issues. That might be a great start. With that, I think I'm handing over to Johannes. Do you want to kick this part off?
No, you can directly go to Florian.
Okay, so we are moving over to Florian.
Maybe two words from my side. The diary is something we started last week for people just to fill in maybe things they believe that are significant, but just to summarize the work, but it's nothing we want to speak about here. It's more if you just want to read up, this is like the teaser to read up, yeah. And another thing about the good first issues, we also have good first issues for Keptn's Bridge. So if you are an Angular developer, or if you want to learn Angular even, just take a look at Keptn's Bridge.
Cool. So thanks so much. And then I'm handing over to Florian.
All right, thank you. So, okay, today I have 4 pull requests that I wanted to show you. So the first one is an extension to the documentation. So let's have a look at the issue first. So basically, what we wanted to do here is to provide instructions on how you can back up your project-related data you have configured in Keptn in order to restore it afterwards in case an upgrade fails or if you want to reinstall Keptn on your cluster. So basically what we've done here is we have added a new section in the docs for both the release 0.6.2 and for the current 0.7.1 release. So in the 0.6.2 release, you will find it here under install Keptn and backup and restore Keptn. And here you will find all the instructions that you need in order to perform the backup. So in essence, it's first to get all the data from the configuration service that contains the Git repository for your project. And then using these instructions, it will be stored on your local machine. And then you also have to back up the MongoDB data and also store it on your local machine. So this is done using the MongoDump tool. You actually don't have to install it on your local machine. So you just have to use kubectl-exec and on the MongoDB pod there, this tool is already installed and you will then only have to fetch the files from the pod using the kubectl-cp command. Then here we have some instructions to back up your Git credentials in case you have configured upstream repositories for your project. And the next section basically describes how you can upload all these artifacts you have stored on your local machine previously into the new Keptn installation. And yeah, for the release 071, you will find this section in operate Keptn and backup and restore Keptn. And in essence, the procedure is pretty much the same. There are some minor details that are different between those two versions, but that's covered in this documentation. Are there any questions about that? All right, if not, I will go on with the next pull request. So this one, actually the next two are related to the Lighthouse-Service. So the first one, let me explain. So basically, for example, a new feature in the Dynatrace SLI service allows the service to create a SLO file from a Dynatrace dashboard with certain tiles that are named according to a convention. And based on those tiles in the dashboard, it's able to generate a SLO config. And that means that if you use this feature, you don't necessarily have to upload a SLO file anymore in order to do an evaluation. But previously, the logic of the Lighthouse-Service was that if there was no SLO file available in the config repository for your project or your service, it just assumed that you do not want to perform evaluations for that service, and then immediately send an evaluation done event with the status passed in order to continue in the deployment process, or just to give you a response for the Qualitygate's evaluation. And now the logic is the following. So if no SLO file is found, it doesn't send an evaluation done event out anymore immediately, but what it does is it will send a get-sli event. And then in that case, for example, if you use the Dynatrace SLI service, this service will now be able to generate the SLO file as I've previously described, and it will actually upload this generated SLO file to your config repository, and then the evaluation service can, the Lighthouse service can use that one in order to perform the evaluation going forward. All right, are there any questions about that? All right, if not, I will continue with the next extension to the Lighthouse service. So if you have used the service previously, you know that you have to define a SLI provider for a certain project using the Keptn configure monitoring command. And using this command, you had to either set your SLI provider to Prometheus or Dynatrace or any other SLI provider that you wanted to take over the responsibility of fetching SLI values. And now we have made a small extension to the Lighthouse service. So now it's possible to define a global default SLI provider. So you don't have to execute the configure monitoring command for each of the projects you have created anymore. And the way this works is we have introduced a Lighthouse config map, and this contains the key SLI provider, and this can be set to the global default you want to use going forward. And of course, if you execute the configure monitoring command for a certain project, it will then override this global default. Any questions about that?
Just a quick one from my end, really cool. Is there also an option to configure this through the CLI or through the API, or is this, we just need to do it through the config map?
Currently, this is done by creating the config map, for example, using kubectl, but of course it would also be a good idea to provide a CLI command or an API command for that, but we can of course discuss this.
Thanks.
Yeah, feel free to create an issue, and if people upvote it,
Yep.
sure.
All right, and yeah, the fourth one is a very little PR, but hopefully helps some people out. For example, if you want to use Keptn in a workshop setting. So what we have done here is we have allowed to not only allow upstream Git repositories using HTTPS, but also using HTTP. So if you want to use a Git repository that uses HTTP, you can now do so.
Maybe just to add on this, because we have had several people in Slack comment on similar issues. If you have the need to use HTTPS but with self-signed certificates, it's something we currently cannot support, or at least not easily support. So if that's your use case, please get in touch with us or write an issue or whatever, and document your use cases, because we can only support what people report us, obviously.
All right, so I think I'm through with all PRs. So now I will hand over to Andreas.
Cool, thank you. Oops, that was the wrong one.
Thank God it was source code.
Better source code than something else. What do you see now?
The meeting
Yeah.
notes.
Meeting document.
Perfect, thank you. Now I'm showing you a rather dangerous feature, but it can be handy. So what I've implemented in our Helm chart is that you can now disable the basic authentication for the bridge. And you can do this by setting the value bridge.secret.enabled equals false. And then there is no basic authentication. So the use case behind this is, for example, let's consider you have a proxy which already does the authentication for you. Then, of course, you don't need a second authentication using the basic auth. But please be aware that if you disable the secret here, the basic authentication, people will be able to access your API, will be able to access your API token, and so on. The second issue I would like to show you is a small bug. So Jürgen reported it. Oops. So in our SPEC documentation, we've always shown version 0.10, even if you, for example, have installed 0.7.2. And the reason for this is that the version was not properly set in our SPEC documentation. So inside our Docker file, we can then replace exactly those string, this version developed string now, to the correct version. If you go into the Docker file, then you can see here now the replacement of the version now works, and we are setting the correct version, for example, 0.72. Okay, that's from my side. Any questions? Otherwise, Johannes, you're next.
All right. Thanks. I want to keep myself short because this week I was just working on the Dynatrace integration part. And this is actually related to the issue that Florian was talking about. It's the capability that the Dynatrace SLI service can read SLIs and SLOs from a dashboard, from a Dynatrace dashboard. And to help Dynatrace users to create such a dashboard, I provided a curl command, but I was just doing the curl command, and many thanks to Andy, who actually framed the dashboard and decided what we should put on. And I was then just taking the dashboard and putting everything into a curl command. But let me show that now to you. Therefore, we jump over to the issue itself. Or no, we go directly to the source code. Here we are. Then on the master branch right now, you find now a folder that's called dashboard. And here you get the curl command with a couple of parameters that you have to set in before executing that command. And when you do that, you will end up in your Dynatrace tenant, you will end up to get a dashboard that looks like that one. On this dashboard, you have a tile or multiple tiles for service performance indicators. Then there are a couple ones for service errors and throughput, and others are for process metrics and host-based metrics. And the Dynatrace SLI service is now able to understand this dashboard and retrieves the SLOs and SLIs based on this configuration. And that's pretty neat because then someone who is using the Dynatrace SLI service does not need to write SLOs and SLIs by hand. And when you want to learn more, especially about this feature, please go to the issue. And there I posted a link, or I posted a link to a YouTube video. And in this YouTube video, the features and also the use cases around this dashboarding mechanism are explained pretty well. All right, yeah, this was it from my side. Let me hand over to Ermin.
Thank you very much. I'm going to present 3 pull requests regarding the bridge today. So the first one is the pull request show git upstream link in project overview or info how to update project. And this is a rather old one, actually reported by Andy to show the git repo for the project. And yeah, since we now have, for example, basic authentication for the bridge, it's secured to show this upstream. So in the overview of the projects, you can see either the upstream if it's configured, or if there is no upstream link, then you get the information that there is no upstream configured, and also the link to the docs how to update your project to set the git upstream. The second pull request is a feature toggle for version check and API token info. So we have now in the user menu on the right top, the API token and the Keptn auth command. And we also have the version check feature. And now it is, I will just show it in the code, possible to enable or disable actually those features just by setting an environment variable. For example, you can disable the version check just by setting this enable version check environment to false in case that, for example, you have a managed cluster and you don't want or you cannot do the check, or the bridge cannot do the check. So you can disable this feature completely. And you can also disable the information or this API token and Keptn auth comment buttons and text fields in case that, for example, you disable the basic authentication for demo purposes, or you provide access to your bridge to several people for demo purposes, then you can just hide those fields. Yeah. And the third one is also regarding this API token and Keptn auth comment. So we had the enhancement that now you can easily copy your Keptn API token and also the auth comment from this user menu on the right top side. And now we have enhancement on that one. For example, when you do a recording of your bridge, you don't have to worry that you will leak your API token, since now, and I will do a live demo here, you initially see only the label, but you can still copy the value, or you can also show it. And here I can safely show it because you won't see the API token, but also copy the whole Keptn auth comment so that I can easily authenticate to this Keptn, where this bridge is. Yeah, that's the 3 pull requests I wanted to show you. Are there any questions?
Ermin, can you jump back to the screen or to the live demo?
Yeah, to the live demo, of course.
What's the meaning behind Keptn auth command that's below?
Oh,
that one?
there is the link to the docs, since we had it in the old version also. So yeah, that I don't know. I left it there because we had it already in the previous version as well linked. I can also remove it, or I thought it's maybe a nice information just to know what to do with or what is happening when you execute the Keptn auth command.
A quick comment on my end, pretty cool. Maybe an additional link up there would be the link to the Swagger UI, or would that also make sense?
Yeah, link to the API basically.
To the API basically, yeah.
Because that redirects you to Swagger.
Yeah, because normally I would probably copy the API token, then click on the link and go to Swagger, and then I can try things out.
True. Actually, we have a separate issue on that one to maybe update those links. And I think that one is covered there.
Cool.
But it's sure easy implementation to provide here the link to the API.
And I mean, as you are on that screen already, and you seem to have merged my feature also in your branch, can you open the,
Oh, yeah.
So one of my first pull requests I'm going to present is the download Keptn CLI link up there. If you can just click on it, there we go. It opens up the GitHub releases page. Or if you have a certain version deployed, so it reads the deployed version of Bridge and Keptn, it would redirect you to the correct version on GitHub. So right now this was just the releases page, but if you deploy it,
it's
master
the
version.
problem is that I have here the latest version deployed, so it could not actually determine my version.
And then I would take over the screen sharing, because then I can quickly show the pull request as well. Thanks for demoing my feature. So this is the PR for the feature. Essentially, we have introduced environment variable. Let me look it up. There we go. Called CLI download link that you can override, or it's overwritten via the Helm chart anyway, but you can enter the link if you want to, or override the link if you have the use case to override it, whatever. And it's being, let me check, it's being overwritten here in the Helm chart via a values YAML, and it's defaulting to the app version that you have deployed. So for 0.7.1, it would default to 0.7.1, and for 0.7.2, the next one, and so on. All right, any questions regarding that bridge feature? Also, like I said before, we have good first issues for Keptn's bridge. That was one of it, and I basically just took a look at it, and I was able to easily do the good first issue and get in touch with the source code of Keptn's bridge. So I can only encourage all of you to take a look at the good first issues. All right, the next one is something that I noticed when I deployed my Keptn to Google Kubernetes engine and that did not have an SSL certificate, I noticed that, I need to open the issue, there is a drop down in Swagger. Actually, it's not linking it, is it? Well, whatever. There's a drop down in Swagger where you can select HTTPS or HTTP. And I was under the impression that Swagger is able to automatically determine the correct scheme. And I was right. So I basically just had to remove something because we had the scheme selected sometimes. Actually, we had it selected to HTTP. And in the Docker file, we extended it with HTTPS. And I've just removed everything related to this, and now the Swagger UI is automatically determining whether it needs to be HTTP or HTTPS.
Thank you so much for this feature, because I always had the problem of, in my first try, it was always going wrong, and then I realized, it's the wrong scheme, and I changed it, and it was correct.
It's actually worse than that, because if you scroll down, this drop down just vanishes. It's out of your view, and you never will know that there is such a drop down. So my first bug report was actually that we're selecting the wrong scheme. But then I noticed actually Swagger UI is doing that. Yeah.
Cool improvement. Thank you.
Then the next improvement I want to share with you is a little document called contributing.markdown. Okay, this is my pull request. So there we go. So we actually have this contribution guide already, but I've extended it a little bit, and we added some guidelines on how we label issues, but we also try to make it a little bit clearer how our development process is working for people that are just looking at the project and don't know where to start. So I encourage all of you to just read through it. And maybe one of the most important things that has been added is a bug first policy. And we basically try to label our issues if you post any, or if actually also we post any. So anyone that posts an issue, we try to label it with type critical, bug, feature, improvement, or chore. Basically also in that order. Critical issues need to be fixed right away. It's a defect that is causing some sort of problem that people will lose money or value or time or whatever. So if you just have a typo, that's not a defect, obviously. But if the issue is like my Keptn installation deletes my whole Kubernetes cluster, then that would be critical. And yeah, similar for bug, that's something we've documented that should work, but it's not working as intended. That would be a bug. So either we need to fix the documentation or we need to fix a code issue. That doesn't matter, but that's something that's a bug. And other than that, we have features for new features and improvements if you want to improve on an existing feature. And chore is basically just something that doesn't have a direct value for end users, but has direct value for the development team. Any comments or questions on that? Otherwise, please just read the contributing guide and ask in Slack if you have any issues or comments. Last but not least, we did a little bit of hardening again, and we noticed that the API tokens that we generate and the Mongo admin passwords that we generated could benefit from a little more entropy. So we've increased the Mongo admin password from 20 alphanumeric characters to 45 alphanumeric characters, as this is a password that you usually will not need. But if you have that password, or if you guess that password, you get admin access to the MongoDB, which is not good. That's if you have access to the cluster, obviously. If you don't have access to the cluster, then everything is fine. But the API token is something that we saw with 20 characters. This is leading to an entropy of approximately 120 bit, and that's not state of the art at the moment. And we increased it to 45 random alphanumeric characters, which leads to 256 bits, a little bit more than that. And that's considered state of the art if it's random enough. And the randomness is actually coming from Helm, not from us. So that should be fine. Yeah. Any questions on that? If not, I think I'll hand over to Johannes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Okay. What's next? Well, 1 or 2 sentences about the roadmap. We still are driven by the Keptn enhancement proposal 0.6, which is about the new shipyard controller, and yeah, we are still working on that one. But I also want to mention that we currently can observe that more and more folks out there are using the Keptn Quality Gates, and this is also a reason why more feature requests and improvements, especially in this regard, are coming in. And this is also the reason why you will see that we are working on improving this capability, going forward. And now let's jump over to the working items, and let's have a review on what's in the ready for review column. All right, yeah, Ermin, you showed us actually that the project tile has already a link to the upstream Git repository. Do you need support to get this pull request merged?
Yeah, I opened this pull request like half an hour ago, so let's leave it in ready for review until the pull request is closed. Maybe there will be some discussion still. Yeah, the same is for the disable the version check feature. Actually, I'm waiting for a contribution by Andreas to allow to set the environment via the Helm chart.
Okay, got it. Yep. And we leave it open. And for that one, can I do the PR review?
Or of course, it's the same. The pull request is still open, so maybe there will be some discussion or something to change. And of course, if everything is okay and the pull request is merged, then I will move it to the done.
Perfect. Then, according to our bug first strategy, we pulled in this issue. Yeah, it was a bug in the Lighthouse-Service that has been introduced due to a change. Florian, can you give us an update on that one?
Yeah, basically, so what happened here is that when you send it an evaluation or a start evaluation event for an unknown project or a service or stage that doesn't exist in your Keptn installation, the Lighthouse-Service basically didn't give appropriate feedback about this case. And now what it does in case this happens, it will send an evaluation done event with status failed and error message describing the error. Yeah, so the pull request has already been made 1 hour ago or something. And as soon as it's been reviewed and approved, we can merge it into the release branch.
All right, perfect. And then the next one, are you still working on that one, or is it also ready for review? It's about getting the Git commit into the response of the configuration service, right?
I think Andreas had one remark that I wanted to have a look at, but there were some issues for 0.7.2 coming in. So I didn't have the time yet to look through that.
Okay. And the last one, is that one finished?
This one is finished and can be closed. I just didn't want to show it here because it's not really exciting. It's more internal build pipeline.
Type chore.
Type chore.
As the
All right. Yeah. Then a quick update on the items that are in progress from my end. Yeah, I want to improve a little bit the instructions to deploy the Android service, as it's misleading at some parts and not that consistent. Actually, I'm done with that work and would need a review from someone. But I will reach out to the team. Then Andreas, you did refactoring of the Lighthouse-Service.
Actually, I'm working on this. So we had the problem that we logged an error multiple times, and the log messages were even contradictory. So I did here in refactoring, and I already have a draft PR, but now I have to test it. And for the next issue, this is basically the same. The implementation is there, but 0.72 was more important than this new Helm service, so I postponed it.
Okay, yeah, that's okay. All right, yeah, we don't need to discuss the assigned and committed issues as we did last time, and I will directly jump over to the backlog where we have the items for the next sprint, for the next week. And the first one I want to explain, well, I was using the Keptn generate support archive command, and I have a Keptn installation where I install Keptn in a specific namespace, not in the default one, in another one, and then I executed this command, and I did not get a reason or a hint why the archive was empty. And the improvement would be that when there is no default Keptn namespace, then the command should tell you that you have to specify the namespace to also retrieve the logs from the Keptn installation. This is the first improvement. It's actually not a bug, it was my mistake, but still I want to leave it like that. And there's also a second improvement addressed by this issue, and it's about telling the user that this command also requires a kube control configuration or a kube context, because we need directly access to the Kubernetes cluster to get all the logs which are then bundled into support archive. And this is what we want to add to the command. And we also want to double check to verify or to ask the user if he or she is still confident that he has the correct kube context configured. This one is labeled as improvement, but I would also label it as good first issue. It's all about the Captain CLI and just improving the error messages and the user experience.
Yeah, if nobody takes it from the community, actually, I would like to label it just as good first issue, but I'll do it if nobody else does it. But we need it rather sooner than later, right?
True.
Yeah, then I'll just take it. If anyone else still wants to take it, I can give it away afterwards. So.
All right. Then, yeah.
In case you don't have the time to do it, I can do it as well. So
yeah, thanks.
Let's just align.
We'll sync if we need to switch.
Okay.
Christian, are you okay when we do it one by one?
Yeah, but I think the next prepare release 072 is just a meta issue. There's like no.
True. Yeah.
I think it's more a reminder and the summary issue, is it?
Yeah, correct. Actually, it's not. There are not tasks in there. It's just about getting the documentation for the next release done, and with a double check of a couple of things, and also there should be an explanation of the new features that were implemented for the bridge. But yeah, maybe it's a meta issue.
Yeah, but maybe we should move it down. Like that should be when we are ready to release. I think. True. And I'll talk about the next one, improved documentation around Keptn Quality Gate. There we go. So we've noticed that the documentation for Keptn Quality Gate is a little bit unpolished, let's put it like this, and we have some tasks that we should do, like define what's needed to set up a quality gate and how can we integrate such a quality gate in an existing pipeline. So it shouldn't be like a tutorial per se, but like a reference document. And yeah, we just need to enhance on that information. And I think we have it split into two into two sections, like the concept Qualitygate and the Qualitygate here. I'm not sure. Did you specify where we should put the new information, Johannes?
I did not specify, but the concept should go into concepts, then Qualitygates, and actually the how-tos and how to do certain things in this regard, they should be placed into this section.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, makes
because
sense.
Right now we are just explaining what is an SLO and SLI and how you can deploy an SLI provider, but there is no guidance how you can create a Qualitygate, how you can delete one or update one, and so on.
Yeah. So, yeah, so who's up for that one?
Yep. Then I will take it, and I will pull all the information together that we have for this task, and we'll come up with improvements of the documentation.
All right.
Okay. The next one. Yeah, as we explained today 2 times or mentioned 2 times, the Dynatrace SLI service is now capable to understand the dashboard and to get all the informations from a dashboard and extract it into SLI and SLOs. But there we are missing a couple of unit tests to validate that all the functions are working properly. And this is what this feature is about, this issue is about, improving the test coverage of the Dynatrace SLI service. And here I added a couple of chore tasks, because what I also figured out is that the Dynatrace SLI service does not specify the SPEC version in the SLO and SLI. Then it's dealing with a dynatrace.conf.yaml file, which is actually not there. And this should also be double checked. And here it needs some refactoring, this function, because as I was testing out today, the filtering mechanism, I figured out that this parameter is not needed anymore. Yeah, and is obsolete. All right, yeah, this is to some extent refactoring and increasing the test coverage.
I'll try to take this, as I guess I'm responsible mainly for the poor test coverage after writing code and not creating tests.
Okay, thank you very much, Andy, for taking it.
All right. The next one is Refactor error handling and logging. It's similar to the one that Andreas has already talked about. Andreas has taken this issue for the Dynatrace service already, and he's also posted a very similar issue for the Dynatrace SLI service. So essentially, we also need to slim down the error logging a little bit, so errors are in the same line and not split over multiple lines. And basically, yeah, log errors and log debug messages were appropriate. And yeah, who wants to take this one?
I would like to do that.
Thank you, Florian.
Okay. Then what we also want to implement in the Dynatrace SLI service is a flag that allows us to enable or disable the feature of of extracting the dashboard. And the flag should be named like that proposal, where I say it's a SLO SLI generation flag, and it allows to configure it as enabled, disabled, and initial. Enabled means that every time the Dynatrace SLI service gets triggered, it also fetches the information from the dashboard. Disabled means that this feature is turned off and there is no interaction with the Dynatrace API. And initial means that when get SLI event is coming in, that has no indicators in the payload, then the Dynatrace SLI service should do an outreach to the Dynatrace API and should get the information from the dashboard, but just once. And when the SLIs are there, then it should not do this step again. Are there ideas on this feature, on this proposal?
I'm wondering if we should rename the flag to automatic SLO SLI generation, because, or fetch SLO SLI from dashboard. That would be a little bit more.
Quite long.
Yeah, it gets quite long, but it's SLO SLI generation is a little bit vague in my opinion. So like fetch SLO SLI from dashboards.
But my question is, why is there such a big overhead with the API? It's not querying the individual dashboards, because the current implementation gets the full list of dashboards with a single call and then iterates and only picks the dashboard with that name.
If I may, the problem is with another change that we have, that we always fire the get-sli event, regardless of there is an SLO file or not. This will have an effect on all onboarded services and all services that have evaluation get-sli events, because now cards.db, for instance, in our examples, cards.db will also trigger such a get-sli event, and then this will also fetch the dashboard data. And for every get-sli event, you have basically an API call, or maybe more than one at some point. I mean, nice that you implemented it in such a way that it's only one. That's good. But still, this could get out of bounds really quickly if you think about huge deployments. And then it makes sense to make this configurable.
Yeah, I'm still not sure about the feature flag though.
We can have it enabled by default. It's really just the fact that we are able to turn it off if somebody wants to turn it off.
Yeah, I would rather bind this with the Dynatrace conf.yaml file, to be honest with you, and put it there, have it off by default maybe. And if somebody decides that they want to have this anyway, then upload the Dynatrace conf YAML, where they say search for the day, either say reference a dashboard by its name, which I have already implemented, or say query. I think there's a, I don't know. Let's discuss this maybe offline.
Yeah, if you
because
can.
This will go into it.
Can you edit on the issue then maybe, and we'll just postpone the implementation for now, for I don't know, a couple of days or until the next meeting. Because the functionality is basically there. It's just a feature flag to turn it on or off.
That's true.
All right.
Let me move it down.
Yeah.
The next one, area.
Captain Cli update.
Okay.
Yeah. So basically the CLI should provide some information, not just that there is a new version available of the CLI. All right, there. It should provide more information how to update the CLI. So right now it just says, hey, there is a new Keptn CLI version available, and we just want to extend it with a little text that says, yeah, you can get it by visiting keptn.sh, or maybe even keptn.sh docs quick start. And yeah, it's just a text change, and it's labeled as a good first issue. So if anyone just wants to contribute with a text change, yeah. I don't know. Should we just leave it open in the backlog? Because there's no point in assigning this right now. And if somebody wants to take it, or we just do it quickly before the next community meeting.
Yeah, feel free. Then let's go to the next one. It's now we are, to the issues related to the bridge. And this one is enabling highlighting in the heat map. In other words, when I take a look at the heat map, there should be some indication that is telling me on which evaluation result I'm currently looking at. And in this, in my proposal, it's a border and also some shadowing with a yellow, but also feel free to come up with a better way of doing the highlighting. And based on a quick research on this topic, we also figured out that the underlaying component that is used for this feature is already capable to provide this highlighting mechanism. Oops. Okay, who wants to take that one?
Yeah, you can assign it to me.
Thank you very much,
And
Ermin.
actually, I would like to point out something to the working items, because there are 2 issues that are not 072 related now in the assigned and committed. Maybe just to move them to the backlog and take the ones that are now for 072.
Okay.
With higher priority.
Totally agree.
So it's actually the Annexify, which is for 08. We will not merge that one to the 07 release. And actually those 3 refactoring tasks.
We will move it back. Yep. All right.
Okay, the next one is a rather big one, also for Captain's Bridge. So our evaluation done screen needs a little bit of reworking, but this is for 080. So do we want to discuss it now?
No, actually it's for
Oh, right. Okay.
72.
Yeah. So the idea is that we do some little bit reworking of the screen to have this a little bit better from like top down, and you get the SLO result on top. So like the orange bar, you can see the SLO overall result. Then you can see the breakdown with the heat map, and after that you can see the real breakdown based on the SLI values with a nice table that you can sort and some criteria in there. Actually, is sorting part of the?
No. To keep this scope, to not make it that big from the scope, I excluded the part of showing the SLI breakdown in a table format. It's the focus of this issue is mainly restructuring and providing proper information where we have the information, and it's just a way of, or just an improvement in visualization, because there are a couple of ideas that were brought into the backlog, and I just scrolled through them and took a look on each of them and then pulled those together into this issue. And here are the tasks explained what to do.
All right. It's still a rather big one. Yeah. Who wants to take it? Who has got some time? If there is no time, we...
You can assign it to me. As already mentioned, the ones that are 072 related, of course, have higher priority now. So I would take that.
Thanks very much.
And that's for 072. That's correct. Okay.
Yep.
As more people are asking for Qualitygate features, we also want to get better there.
Still, but yeah, if we have a deadline, then I guess the deadline is more important.
Yep, this brings me to the next one. It's not for the services screen, it's more for the environment screen, where we have a stage that has more than 5 services. Then there should be, then the services should not be here, should not show up in this way, but just each service should be in its own row. Yeah, and they should also be ordered according to their last root event that happened to this particular service. Plus, when there are more than 5 services for a particular stage, then the show more button or show more label should allow you to pull in the next section of or next part of services. Actually, this one is already available, this feature, in this tile. All right, yeah, but has someone time to work on that one?
yeah, if not, just leave it in the backlog and
when there's time left.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, we discussed this enable disable the feature.
Yeah,
and
meta issue.
Meta issue, and this one we also moved to the backlog the last time. Then we are here at the point where we again want to mention that we always have a couple of good first issues and help wanted issues, which should be an outreach to the community to take a look at those, pick one and just leave a comment there, and we will assign it to you when you want to get when you want to get started working on that one. All right, then yeah, we are done with the working items and with the backlog refinement, and also discussed the work for the next week.
Johannes, we had a question from the community about the next release. Since we saw it as an item in the sprint planning, is there any exact date, or is it like should it be in the next sprint or in the next 2 sprints, or can you give some update on this?
No, I'm sorry, I cannot give you an update on an exact date, but you can expect a release of 0.7.2 in about 2 weeks, but not on a fixed deadline right now.
But you can look in the issue list and see what's in the issue list, obviously for milestone 072. That should give you a good estimate on whether the release is almost done or not almost done.
True. Let's always take a look into this milestone, and here you get an overview of the features that are relevant for 0.72.
Thank you.
All right, I think we're done. Are there any questions from the community still?
If there are no questions, or if there are any questions, please put them in the chat. I just want to announce that for next week, we will have in the first couple of minutes a special celebration for our new community rockstar. So you might know that we are quarterly awarding community rockstars. We already awarded the first community rockstar. Those are community members that show excellent in a couple of different categories, like contributing to Keptn, talking about Keptn. For this quarter, we are awarding the community rockstar next week. So if you're also interested in contributing to Keptn, you've seen with a lot of Angular good first issues. We have Golang, we have a couple of other issues open. If you want to start contributing, please feel free to do so, and also join us in our different communication channels so that we also know about you joining us in making Keptn better. If there is no more question, is there anything left from the team you want to share? Okay, then thanks so much for joining this week, and see you all next week in the community meeting. And in the meantime, also see you on Slack, slack.keptn.sh, or in the CNCF Slack. Please feel free to reach out. And yeah, have a nice day. Bye.
See ya.
Cool. Bye.